she was in there for hours. Nobody answered. We were calling the nurses. We're like, what's going on?
Well, the reason why that I was in there for hours,
'Cause-
obviously I'm completely out of my mind at this point. I don't remember anything about this hospital night or anything, but I told all these doctors that I wanted them to have a police escort take us to NYU so that I can get there really fast. That was the only thing I was hyper-focusing on, was that. So I don't know where your mind kind of defaults to, but I had told them that do I say the name or no?
He was basically like a DARE officer from our high school.
I don't know how he got into my brain, but I told them that this officer from our town was coming and he was going to be our escort to NYU. So they believed me, not knowing that I was fucking out of my mind at this point. And they were just waiting for this cop to show up.
Hours.
And nobody told them that that was what was going on. So they were just sitting outside waiting.
It was my mom, my dad, her mom, her dad, me, all in a car, and we're waiting.
Just waiting.
Okay. Hailey Jeklinski, my wife, my high school sweetheart, my best bud. You're not my first guest, but you're the first guest in my heart to be on the show. So for people who are listening, this has been a long time coming. I didn't say that I was going to bring it up at the beginning, but I'm going to bring it up at the beginning. We tried to record this once, but Hailey didn't want to record it. Twice.
Tried to record
Twice.
this 2 more times.
Yeah. Get closer to the mic. So, we tried to record this a couple times. It just didn't work. Hailey was nervous and still is, but there's no reason to. She's amazing, and you guys will figure that out as we continue to listen. But I just figured I've talked about, and I've dropped little tidbits and the guests that I've had on so many times in the episodes about my wife Hailey and her story and her illness, and that's not what defines her by any means, but I've talked a lot about it, and I felt like it was pretty fitting for the 10th episode to release an episode with you. And I kind of put you on the spot because I need you here to release this episode.
Yeah, you did.
And she tried to convince me to do a solo episode. It's just not yet. I had to have you here, be my crutch, but I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. All right, so basically what this episode is going to be about is just us kind of talking about our story and go ahead.
No.
Talking about our story and just letting people kind of know who we are and the voices behind the mics and the people behind the mics. And so do you want to just say your name at least to start? Hey, I'm Hailey.
My name's Hailey.
And this is my wife. So Hailey and I started dating. I was 16, she was 15, and we both grew up in the same town. Shout out Manahawkin, New Jersey. Skirt. So we kind of went the distance. we did it all. We did prom. We did homecoming.
I can't take you seriously.
You gotta take me seriously. It is weird. So
I'm very hot right now. My hands are sweating.
All of the other episodes that I do, I feel like I'm just, like I'm Tyler. I'm a professional Tyler, and being like an OT, I have obviously to tune into the professional side of me, but it's my wife, so I can let loose a little bit. And I promise we're not under the influence of anything either. We're just...
No, I wish. But
all right. So anyway, we've been together for quite a while, and we've just always kind of lived a little bit differently, I guess I could say. Even when we were younger, we always like pissed our parents off with just questionable things that we would do. And then also we'd always say like, we want to travel, and like, we want to get the hell out of here, and kind of push the envelope with our parents and see how far we could go. And we traveled internationally when we were both like pretty much right after you turned 18, because nobody could stop us. And we went to Jamaica, and then I kicked it off, and we just started traveling like crazy. And then, kind of always had like the life's too short vibe about us, I guess, early on. But then I think it all really started, and there was obviously a lot that happened in between the time of 16 and 20. Yeah. But when Hailey was 20, that was kind of when a lot of it changed, and that was 2015. And I guess just talk about how you started feeling crappy and then go from there. I mean, like, what was the telltale sign that something was up when you were 20, and what like could you tell was off?
Well, I was working a lot, and that was really stressing me out. I was in school, So I had a lot going on at the time, but I had a rash on my face, which I thought was just like sun poisoning because I was going to the beach a lot. And then when I had gotten it looked at, what are they called?
Rheumatologist.
Dermatologist.
Oh yeah,
Dermatologist.
Yeah.
Had asked me if I knew anything about lupus because it looked like a lupus rash. So she referred me to a rheumatologist, and then the rheumatologist did some tests, and somehow really quickly, because usually it takes a long time for people to get diagnosed, it came back like
Screaming.
Yeah, like he was like telltale, like I had lupus. And I just felt really shitty, and my body hurt really bad all of a sudden. And before that, I wasn't really sick ever.
Never. Like she prided herself on like never getting a cold.
Like that summer before, but other than that,
yeah,
I was pretty healthy.
Which we think like that's kind of maybe like woke. I mean, there's so many different theories of how it could have came about, which is definitely not the episode to get into that. But yeah, and that, I mean, you were like a college athlete. You were working 2 jobs, getting up at 4 a.m., just absolutely working yourself to the bone, and it was.
Yeah, it was like right after that last soccer season. It was in December of 2014. I started to feel crappy, and then by June 2015, that's when the diagnosis came.
Yeah. And then, like you said, it just kind of felt crappy, and it was the joint stuff and all that. I mean, that was the extent of it, and we thought it was bad then from 2015 to 2019, and just like a lot of stuff that we couldn't do and a lot of like lifestyle changes that we needed to cut back on. We were like definitely partiers, and this was obviously right around when she turned 21, so kind of had to change.
And I continued partying even after the diagnosis, which did not help at all.
Yeah, anybody listening with autoimmune, the last thing that you should do is party and be. Yeah, just don't party. Life is a party. You don't need the substances to do such. But anyway, yeah, so then 2019 came, and there was that 4 years of obviously not feeling well. And I love how I said you're not defined by your illness, but we had so many fantastic years between 2010 and 2019, and we're just talking about that. But we'll get into that. I'm sure the stories will come up. But yeah, 2019 came, and then we just moved. So all right, let me back up a little bit. So 2018 was kind of when we were like, fuck it, let's get the hell out of New Jersey, because New Jersey sucks.
I was like, fuck it, let's get out of New Jersey. But Tyler didn't want to leave.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're the other end of that balance for sure. Like let's just do it. More, I've talked about that on other episodes, but I'm more of the logical, like, let's count how much money we have and be sure that we can do this. And Hailey's like, dude, we'll always have enough money, which we always have. We've come close a couple times of just
gotten really lucky.
Cardboard boxing, but we've done it. Yeah, we've had a lot of amazing people help us along the way. But anyway, 2018, I was doing my rotations for school, and we went to Colorado. And anybody that knew us at the time tell you, like, Colorado, we were like the Colorado people. Mm-hmm. Anytime we talked about Colorado,
I was obsessed with Colorado.
We visited a few times, and yeah, we were like, we're gonna live here for the rest of our life. So had a rotation there for 3 months, then went to Phoenix for 3 months, spent a month in California in between, and then went back to Colorado after. Had an amazing older okay. Had an amazing like older couple from the Netherlands, and if they hear this and they're like, did you just call us a fucking older couple? You fucking
Shout
assholes.
out to you and Bart.
Shout out to you and Bart, most amazing people ever. But yeah, he's from the Netherlands, she's from Canada, and they just were the best people ever. I did not want
to go back to New Jersey after the Arizona rotation, and we just called them. We were like, hey, we don't want to go back to New Jersey, and they were just like, yeah, come with us.
We lived in their basement. I studied for my boards. Their basement was amazing, and they just bought this place in Arvada, Colorado, and it had astronaut wallpaper. It was probably like plastered on there in like whenever Apollo took off, 69. But amazing place. They've since redone it, which is super unfortunate. But yeah, so then we ended up making it work there, passed my boards, started living in Colorado, and then 2019 was when you got, what was it, endoscopy and colonoscopy or something.
Yeah, because I was having a lot of like stomach issues and stuff, so I had to get that done. And then the day after the procedure, I had a really, really high fever, and I had called them and was like, hey, like, I have a fever. And they were like, oh, it's normal. But then the fever didn't stop for like, 6 months?
6 fucking months.
6 months of every single day high fevers.
Yeah.
That's shitty.
It was the worst thing ever. Lost a ton of weight, just were super unhealthy, and
Yeah.
they ended up basically finding out that it was like her lungs were bleeding, and also there was a ton of other like autoimmune stuff you had going on.
Everything was kind of just blowing up all at once.
Yeah, they diagnosed her with this disease called Kikuchi Fujimoto. Is that
Kikuchi Fujimoto.
Kikuchi Fujimoto disease, and then they also just said it was like a lupus flare too, and it attacked her lungs, but then it just stopped. It was the craziest fucking thing. It was April they started, April 2019, and like at the beginning of October, it was just like done. She got a biopsy of her lymph node, and that's what confirmed the Kikuchi Fujimoto, and then just like that, it stopped. And
but nothing helped. Like Tylenol didn't make it go away. Steroids didn't make it go away.
Like lived off Tylenol. It was terrible
day. Yep.
Terrible time, without a doubt. Shout out to Ethan. He's probably listening. He was our roommate, and at the time, was my best bud. He he was there and helped us through a lot. But yeah, then that happened, and then you were great, and we got engaged in 2018, and at that point, I mean, we were like, holy shit, like we're not gonna be able to get married, and it was just a really, really kind of terrifying time. And we were like trying to think about wedding planning, and then it kind of all got put on pause. But then from October to December, like you gained insane amount of weight. Not like you fucking blew up. No, you gained a lot of healthy weight back, and by the end of the year, you were amazing. Like you were just, not that you weren't amazing then, but like you just were so much healthier, and you could just tell it. So then we started planning the wedding, and then COVID hit, and then we were like, fuck it. We initially were gonna have it in September, and then we moved it up closer to the heart of the pandemic.
We were gonna have it in New Jersey to like be by like everyone we know.
But then we were just like, life's too short to not get married, and especially after the scare last year. So then we pushed it up and did like a August 2020.
We planned our wedding in like a month.
Planned our wedding literally in a month, and we had a lot of amazing people help us out along the way. We spent pretty much pennies from what a wedding is costs really today, and it was absolutely amazing. So got married in August 2020, and then right after that we moved to San Diego. And in the podcast with Wallace J. Nichols, author of Blue Mind, you could hear why, but it's because we really miss the ocean. And then we lived in San Diego, and what was it, like December of 2020 that the fucking fever started again.
We were doing a lot of things that I think just stressed my body out, and then
again, like
2020 or December, they just randomly started, and I think that like freaked us out, and then it just kind of snowballed from
I think
there.
so, just a little bit, because like when the Tylenol bottle came out, it's all over. But yeah, so then you just, again, progressively got worse, and then it was kind of
thinking that it was the same type of issues as the 2019 flare. It kind of like everything was the same. Everything presented like literally the exact same way to a T, but nothing was working because we tried in 2019 we tried the rituximab infusion. I don't know if you want to explain what that is because I don't know what it is. But
just like a medicine.
Yeah, but in 2019 it worked. I think. I don't really know if it was just the timing or not, but it helped it, go away and stop. And then when I tried it again in 2020.
So it was like January. It was like right after the fever started, and then your doctor had ordered it, and then that was a terrible day.
Yeah, so it's a 2-day infusion, and I went there. I got it the first day. I was fine. I went back the second day, and I basically almost died because I had an allergic reaction.
Dude, not to interrupt, but like the fucking scariest thing I've ever seen. Like,
I just remember being really, really itchy, and I was like, Tyler, like I'm really itchy, and like I don't know, I have lupus, so that's kind of normal for
just itching.
Just be itchy sometimes. But no, like it was like really bad, and then all of a sudden, like they had to hit the emergency button, and then like a crash car came, and I just like a million people surrounding me.
And you were starting to turn like purple, like you were literally like closing. Like it was the scariest thing ever. And then they
just like pumped me with a bunch of meds.
Yeah, they like
feeling so drugged up.
High dose Benadryl, and eventually we're good. And then we're like, okay, well we can't do that. And this was a month after everything started, and then we kind of at that point we're like, last time it just went away, so we're like, let's just let it go away. Yeah. And you had some steroids in 2020 or 2019, and we always joked about how things were then, and we were like,
well, yeah, because like steroids kind of make you crazy. And at the time in 2019, I was like, okay, it just makes me angry and irritable.
Cleaning a lot and yelling at Ethan for his
everything and
body hair.
Yelling at Ethan for leaving his laundry in the dryer for fucking 3 weeks.
But you were onto something, because that dude literally ran like 5 different loads because he would just leave it in the dryer for like 5 straight days. Like every time he'd run it, he'd
but anyway, if you're on steroids, that's gonna piss you off.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it just got progressively worse.
But
That
yeah,
was,
so
like,
then
nothing.
you eventually started the steroids again, but you didn't want to. And in 2021, at this point, it was like February. And then you just weren't getting better. Like your fevers were getting worse.
But then,
And
because we started low, because I didn't want to be on them, so then we just kept going up and up and up the more that the fevers didn't go away. And then all of a sudden, I'm on 50 milligrams of steroids at home, and, goodbye, Hailey.
yeah, unfortunately, it all kind of culminated. You were really light at that time. You were like 85, 90 pounds.
Yeah.
And they say that per milligram of prednisone, you shouldn't be going over like 1 gram per 2 pounds. So meaning she was on 50 milligrams, she should have been max or minimum 100 pounds, and she was like 85. So, I mean, but it was like that bad. Like her blood work was that bad, and they were all like super worried about things. So so she flew back home. I drove
Well,
across.
because I was already like kind of losing my mind when
Yeah.
we still were in California. And then I made the decision to go back to New Jersey because my doctor, shout out Dr. Saxena,
Best
the best.
rheumatologist on planet Earth.
Literally. I decided to fly back to New Jersey to be closer to him because we kind of were planning on like getting me admitted just to kind of see what was going on so it didn't get like even worse. Yeah. And then what else?
And so then you were back, and at this point, I got a job in Hawaii.
Well, the scary part is, sorry to interrupt you again,
no.
but
They don't care about my job.
I don't even remember flying back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
I just have like little memories of like, I have a picture of myself on the plane. That's probably the only reason why I remember that. But when I got to my parents' house, because I was in New Jersey for like 2 weeks before Tyler got there, because he was in the middle of selling all of our stuff and all that. But I got to my parents' house, and I remember eating dinner one night with them, and then after that, I have zero memory up until everything happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
my mind was already long gone.
who's to say the actual progression? Because I think we're all a bit tainted in our views of reality. I think we learned that after this whole situation. But so I got a job in Hawaii, and we were moving. So we sold all our shit in San Diego, and we had 2 cars at the time. So I drove. It was a very elaborate scheme. I drove with our dog Zion.
And all
For those of you who are watching the video, I don't know if he's in the frame, but he's the man. Best dog ever. But him and I drove cross country, and we ended up getting back there, and it was like, what was it, April 5th, I think I got back. And then the night of April 5th, and Hailey, the whole time was just not Hailey, like
I
at
don't
all.
remember him getting to my house. I don't remember seeing him, nothing. The only thing I remember about that night was that I was really pissed off that everyone was trying to make me go to the hospital that night. I wanted to wait till the following day.
Just the steroids like made her just hyper focused on everything. And then that next day did all the car shit, remember? And then that night, I got rid of the car, and then that night something with like blood work came back, and your doctor was like, you got to come in without a doubt.
And I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because I knew obviously I was going to be spending my time in a hospital, and I absolutely hated it since the flare in 2019.
Yeah.
So
then, and the fevers were all still raging at this time. So starting in December, it was April. And then I remember vividly, so I was there with her dad, and
well, it started, but we were all at the table.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, no, like you have to go tonight. I didn't really have a choice. And I was like, fuck you guys. I'm not listening to you. So I stormed off and went into my room, like a little child. And I just remember in my mind, I don't really know what was going on, but I just knew I was going to be in a hospital. So I was like, oh, I need to go take a shower. So I went and started to take a shower.
Well, hold on. Before that, you made me and your dad get you Uncle Matt's organic orange juice from Pangea. So we had to drive a half hour to get her the orange juice for the hospital. Just a little.
Sounds like something I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started to take a shower, and then I was going to be in a hospital. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to shave. And for some reason, that was what I was hyper focusing on. So I started to shave my leg. And as I started to shave, my arm started to like raise by itself. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. My arm literally just started to raise in the sky. And then it like turned and it started to shake. And then after that, I dropped the razor, fell to the floor, and I had what is it called? Like a tonic something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like just a full seizure.
Yeah. And I mean, what was your, like, do you want to share what happened other than the fact?
From my perspective, I fell and hit the floor. And I literally like came out of my body and just was watching myself from the top of my shower have a seizure on the tub floor. And I don't know where I was hearing it from, but I heard my mom and Nancy, Tyler's mom, because they were both there because Tyler and my dad had left. And I remember them like talking about something about opening the door. And I saw like their reaction to me having a seizure. And then after that, it kind of just, everything kind of like blanked out. And then I woke up from the seizure and I was just like looking at Tyler in the doorway, laying on the floor. And I was laying on the floor, not him.
Yeah. I just went down with you.
Sorry,
like, this is it.
joke.
Check it out too. Yeah, that was, I feel like, we're kind of doing like the semantic facts right now of everything that happened. But that was one of those moments that you could look back in your life and be like, wow. I remember looking at you and just being absolutely.
He looked terrified.
Of course.
I remember that. He looked like completely
It was the scariest
terrified.
moment of my life. Like, she was just laying there in the tub and hit her head, all kinds of stuff, and like just stopped. And we weren't there at the time. So my father-in-law, Jason, and her dad and myself had to fly back home because my mom called, screaming on the top of her lungs. It's just one of those moments you don't want to relive, but you have to relive because it's like super traumatic. But then got back there and I just remember like looking at her and just being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But she was so calm.
I felt calm. I just remember looking at him. That's all. I couldn't say anything. I don't think I could talk at that point.
No.
I was just kind of staring. Yeah.
But
I
it was.
just remember looking at you.
And it's funny, not funny, but like it's just interesting looking at grand scheme of life kind of things. And I was like angry. I'm like, you shouldn't be this calm right now, but you just clearly had a moment, to say the least. And like you were out of your body and you just kind of reminded me everything's going to be okay. And even after that month that came, like I just kind of knew.
Like without talking.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, dude, everything's going to be okay. And it didn't seem like that for the next basically 5 weeks. But yeah, so then we got into.
You gotta tell the whole.
Oh God, I really gotta go the whole.
Yeah,
all right,
whole
well,
part.
This is gonna be an episode for those of you who are tuned in already. So from there, so yeah, there's this one EMT lady.
Well, they had to call 911, obviously, and then the EMTs came, and then Tyler had some type of situation.
So I wanted to go to make sure I can go into the hospital because they didn't know, but she wasn't in the right mind. She was on way too many steroids and was in like a steroid-induced, oh my God, I'm about to join it. Steroid-induced psychosis. Actually, was technically diagnosed as that, but I knew she couldn't manage herself in the hospital. So it was COVID time again. Well,
But this was also kind of before we all knew how gone I really was.
Yeah. Yeah, we just kind of thought she was in one of those like steroid things again, but yeah, she was gone. But we were in the ambulance and I asked the lady 1,000 times, this is a hospital that I could go in, right? This is a hospital that I could go in, right? Yes. We get there.
This is when there was still COVID restrictions.
Yeah. We get there and then they stop me at the door and I'm like, you're fucking kidding. And I absolutely lost it. This like, I remember it. I remember her face vividly. She was a red-haired EMT. If you are listening and you are in Toms River, New Jersey, we still got beef, lady. But
you're not getting my money. Sorry.
And you're also not. We're not paying that bill still. But she put her hands on me and she's like, "You're not coming in." And I'm like, "Dude, you told me the whole ride that I could come in." And I was trying to stay calm, but obviously was in a pretty chaotic situation. And then started to like raise my voice. And Hailey, my mother-in-law, knows me kind of when I get like that. She's like, "Tyler, calm down." And then this lady literally started coming at me. This EMT, like she was going to fight me, like take me down or something. I'm like, is this fucking for real? And then another EMT had to hold her back. It was a situation. Yeah. And then Tyler's mom, Hailey's mom was trying to calm me down and all that. But anyway, so we get in there. She was in there for hours. Nobody answered. We were calling the nurses. We're like, what's going on?
Well, the reason why that I was in there for hours, because obviously I'm completely out of my mind at this point. Nobody even knows what's going on with me, like in my mind. So apparently I told all these doctors, I don't remember anything about this hospital night or anything, but I told all these doctors that I think what was going on in my head was I wanted a police escort to drive me to NYU because we were taken to...
From South Jersey, by the way. It's like a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah. So I wanted them to have a police escort take us to NYU so that I can get there really fast. That was the only thing I was hyper-focusing on was that. So... I don't know where your mind kind of defaults to, but I had told them that do I say the name or no?
He was basically like a DARE officer from our high school.
I don't know how he got into my brain, but I told them that this officer from our town was coming and he was going to be our escort to NYU. So they believed me, not knowing that I was fucking out of my mind at this point. And they were just waiting for this cop to show up.
Hours.
And hours. And nobody told them that was what was going on. So they were just sitting outside waiting.
There was my mom, my dad, her mom, her dad, me.
Yeah.
All in a car, and we're waiting,
Just waiting.
under the assumption.
Right after I just had this seizure.
Yeah, so we didn't know what the hell was going on anyway. So we get her to NYU.
They had to like speed to NYU.
Yeah, and they gave us like all these drugs and everything if she had another seizure, and then we got there.
Which is actually weird because I kind of remember very, very tiny pieces of being in the car because it was nighttime, obviously, right?
Yeah, it was like the middle of the night.
I remember.
And then we were up like 24 hours at this time, like all of our family, and we ended up, her mom and I decided we were going to take shifts, so she went in initially with her, and then I went to go check us into the hotel that her mom and I were basically
like
rotating off with, of who's going to be staying with her. And then
this was my first IVIG,
yeah,
right?
But this is after. So then she had another seizure when she first got checked in with her mom was there. And then I just remember that morning, like her mom calling me and telling me, and I literally thought that was going to be it. And Tina, if you're listening, I love you. But like Tina definitely downplayed how bad things were. Cause when I got to the hospital, I saw Hailey was like a vegetative state. She wasn't even comprehending. Like she wasn't talking. She wasn't barely open her eyes. It was basically a complete vegetable for like 4 days. And it was terrifying.
Pictures, it's really scary.
You what?
I have pictures. It's really scary.
Yeah, it was terrifying. And I remember when I first went there and I was like, what is going on? And I talked to the doctors. I was like, this is just a temporary thing. They're like, well, we don't really know what's going on. And we can't say, if basically she's going to come back from this. And I'm like, are you guys fucking kidding me? Don't tell me that. Like, at least just lie to me. So it was really bad. And I at that point had to accept that I could wake up tomorrow and she could be gone. And this is 11 years into our relationship, and we've been together since children. And I just remember laying in that hotel room and being like, I just have to accept it. It was the worst night of my life, and I did. And I accepted that, like, if this happens, I know I'm going to get through it and get past it and everything. And then, so then you eventually started to come back, and every glimmer of hope we took, and you kind of came back to it. And then they ended up basically saying that lupus affected her brain, and there's inflammation in her brain. She had seizures, and then obviously also had the fever stuff going on at the same time. Just super dosed her with all kinds of stuff. Got like IVIG, insane amounts of IV steroids, brought down the inflammation, checked you out of the hospital. You were in the ICU for a week. Basically, she was the only person in the ICU that wasn't, what?
I just cleared my throat.
She was the only person in the ICU that wasn't on a ventilator from COVID. That was like the time where all that shit was happening. And I was like, I mean, it sounds fucked up, but I was like, if you're not going to die from this, there's no way that these nurses are coming in and out. Like, this is just terrible. Like, you're in clearly a super immunocompromised state as it is. But somehow didn't get COVID, somehow came back to, and then they discharged her, went on 50 milligrams.
Came back to, kind of. I was like,
well,
I just wasn't like a vegetable anymore,
yeah.
But my mind was still gone.
Yeah.
Because I was on the IV steroids in the hospital and then was sent home and discharged with the
50 milligrams. Yeah, I think was it 50 or did you start at 60?
I think it might have been higher.
I don't remember. It was crazy. It was way too much. But then at this point, that's when we noticed she's still not well. And
I got discharged, and I just remember we have a picture, me and Tyler together, of like us just like sitting on the hospital bed of us ready to go home. I just like was not happy. No. I didn't know why. I was just so fucking mad. Yeah.
But yeah, so then at that point, that started that month. And during that month, I had to think many times back to the calmness of Hailey in the tub after the first seizure. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. But of course, those 3 days were the worst 3 days of my life. But then, and obviously your life.
Taking that type of Hailey home was completely different.
Yeah. And she was full psychosis. I mean, you could share what you want to.
Well, I was also on a medicine called Keppra, which is a seizure medication. But if you do any, quick Google search, it literally says, first of all, there's Keppra like rage. That's a thing. But there's also steroid rage. But when you mix those two medicines together, you literally create a fucking monster. I was terrible.
I personally feel like it was probably more not that it matters that much, but it's probably more the steroids than the seizure med. But like you said, those two definitely got into your psyche without a doubt. But yeah, so then we were home for the next month, and you started to get progressively better. But that first,
only when we started tapering the steroid.
Yeah, because we kind of got to a point where we almost checked you into a psychiatric hospital. Thank God for her doctor to say like, things are going to get worse if not, but we didn't know what to do. She was gone. You were gone. You just weren't there.
Yeah.
Share what you want, but you don't have to.
Know which part.
I mean, like, I guess what were you perceiving?
Well, the thing is, I don't know what, thinking back to it now, I can, this is hard to explain.
Yeah.
But like during the whole thing, there was multiple, what's the word, perspectives of myself. There was me who was, in front of everybody. But then there was like the me in my mind that, the normal person that usually talks to yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then there was the person like watching that. So my actual mind was the person watching everything. So I would watch this other Hailey, be all these, different ways to all these other people, like my family and Tyler. And I was so fucking mean. Like mean. I don't even know. There's no other word. What's another word? Just like.
Mean.
Cruel. I don't know. I guess cruel would be even better, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't control it. And I knew what I was doing and knew what I was saying. But like the real me had absolutely no control over anything. Not my thoughts, not my actions, literally nothing. But the hallucinations that I was having from everything were 100% like demonic. But it wasn't even just a visual hallucination. It was a lot more auditory and just a feeling. And there was one instance where I was sitting down watching TV, I think with Tyler and his dad, and I kept looking over at them, and they were both looking at me, but they were like whispering to each other. And I kept saying, like, what are you saying? What are you talking about? And I remember Tyler getting angry, but he probably wasn't actually getting angry. It was just how my mind was perceiving him talking to me. But it was like he got pissed at me because I kept asking them, what is wrong? Like, why are you talking about me? Obviously they weren't just sitting there talking about me. But yeah, there was just so many instances that everything was just off. I don't know.
Yeah, and there was a really bad night where she just kind of lost it, and we all were there. Hailey's family, we were all there, and we tried to calm her as much as we can, and we did. And that was the night where we thought we had to go to a psych hospital because we didn't know what else to do. And it was all still like so new at the time. They're like, yeah, it's probably lupus affecting the brain, but it's too hard to tell because the fevers are still going on. So looking back, it's a lot clearer picture, but like during it, we had not an idea of what was actually going on. Yeah. And then it was just the worst. Like every single day was terrible. She didn't sleep, and I'd constantly have to be there and kind of like
sleep because the hallucinations that I were having were actually like in my dreams too. I used to remember one time I would go to bed, I'd fall asleep, and then I'd wake up, but in my sleep. So I wasn't actually awake. I'd like wake up in a dream, and my parents would come in and give me my medicine, even though I already took it. And then they would leave the room, and I'd take the medicine, and then they'd come back. And it happened hundreds of times.
She thought we were trying to kill her.
I thought my parents were trying to kill me because they kept coming in and giving me this medicine, not obviously realizing that was a dream. So then I somehow, as we tapered off the steroid, I started to write down that I took all of my medicine, and then I used to have my whole family sign the paper, and I put it in my pillow. No idea why I did this, but it worked. And then the hallucinations in my dreams stopped.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you found like the way. It only took, you were in that for a month. We say only, but some people just suffer from mental health things.
Or psychosis for years. That like happens for a long time.
And you found what started to work. And of course, it was kind of mixed with the medicine going down and getting off of what was actually causing it too. But
during that whole time of like coming off medicine, I was always one foot in this reality, one foot in that like hallucination reality.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so that was that. And then at this point, simultaneously, I had the job already lined up in Hawaii. I was supposed to start in May. And this was kind of the point from my perspective of life where everything was just, I literally have no choice but to take things day to day. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to just hope that things.
That's still what we wanted. That was still our plan. We wanted to be in Hawaii. And
yeah.
We were like, me almost dying is not going to stop us. So
yeah, it's happened a lot. Like lots of shit. It didn't stop us from getting married the first time. And yeah, this is kind of when our perspective on just life and things in general really changed a lot over the years from just other experiences that we didn't even really touch on in this episode. But this
there's
definitely
a lot of missing pieces.
A lot of
hopefully that this makes sense to other people because there's a lot I didn't say.
There's a lot of missing, but yeah, the overall gist is like that's kind of what went on. And then we eventually, I got to Hawaii, found us a place to live, and you came a month later, and I just remember leaving you and you still kind of being in that psychosis, but I had to get there. It was either we stay here in New Jersey and we're kind of stuck, or I get there. And you were okay with it at the time. I don't know if you were actually okay with it.
I couldn't tell you.
You were like, just go, just get us there. I'll meet you there. And then I just remember seeing her. I
was in New Jersey for 3.5 weeks without Tyler. And I just remember, well, obviously it sucked like really bad, but I also still wasn't better, even though on the outside, everyone probably thought I was, because I somehow had this way of making it seem like I was better than I was. But when I got to Hawaii, I was way, way better than the beginning, but I was definitely still very messed up.
I remember driving past you at the airport.
He passed
I think
me
multiple times.
He didn't know it was me.
Because when I left, she was 90 pounds. She was super not healthy looking, obviously. But
I had like no hair. I looked like a fucking recovering crack addict.
You might have been in the midst of the crack at that point. Yeah, and then I drove past her, and I just remember seeing her, and I'm like, I couldn't even believe it. She gained probably 25 to 30 pounds.
I weighed like 115. That was my goal by the time I met her there.
And it was amazing. And then, I mean, we got there. I say amazing, but it was a lot of work to be done, because it was a blessing to be able to experience the fact of like you have to basically accept that you're going to be losing somebody and then actually not lose them. And then have to kind of relearn to yourself like, hey, you didn't lose them. And I think part of my kind of functioning and operating like shut down a bit, because it was really cruel during those times, like really mean to me. And I
hope you guys understand like the severity of how cruel I was. Like, think of the meanest, cruelest person in the world and like multiply that by 1 billion.
But also, you dated me when I was 16 years old, so that was like probably the worst person ever. So it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like shut down a bit with that, and I was doing my best, obviously, to like keep her alive, and we had amazing family support at the time, but I knew, and as her husband, I'm the one that's going to, make the decision to either help her or just not give a shit. And I decided that I married you. I took the vows. So no, but obviously I love you more than anything. So I'd do that 1,000,000 times over, but please don't make me do it 1,000,000 times over.
I hope that doesn't ever.
But yeah, it was insane, because we were together for 12 years and we pretty much started over, like, our relationship.
We spent 3.5 weeks without each other. And when I met him in Hawaii, I had no idea who the fuck I was meeting. Vice versa. Like, it was the same for him. Like, we were literally strangers to each other.
Yeah. So,
like, we talked, like, we still, like,
but barely. We barely, like, it was a couple texts, and it kind of was like I needed to check out. Yeah. I needed to.
Obviously, what he had just come from was so, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to explain that. So.
And there was no in between. That was all happening, and then it was like, are we sure I should go? Are we sure I should go? Okay, well, I have to make this decision to ship the car. I have to make this decision to, like, get,
everything in place.
And then Hailey was supporting me, and our family was not.
No, our family definitely was not. But at that point, I just wanted to get the hell out.
They support us, don't get me wrong, but it was just, they weren't, they just didn't see the sense in it. But we were also just like, okay, so it's either one of two things. You don't make it, and then we have to figure something out, or you do, and then we live in the best place in the world. And thankfully, the latter is what happened. But yeah, so we just figured that all out, and then we ended up staying there for a couple years, and Hailey just was fantastically healthy, and we got pregnant in November 22, and we had our beautiful daughter, Kalia, and now here we are. And then so real quick, is it ad lib or ad hoc?
Ad lib is like
ad lib's yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk. I'm not even gonna title it. So we left Hawaii.
Mr. 305.
Yeah, boy, Big Sean. I had a night with one of my friends in Hawaii. We a bad parenting decision, but Kalia was 3 weeks old, and I went to go play tennis. My boy Matt, shout out Matt. And we ended up finding ourselves, because Matt was like, "Yeah, you want to grab a beer after?" I'm like, "Yeah." I called Hailey, and I was like, "Hey, I rode my bike. Do you mind if I go?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, but like, you told me you were gonna cook dinner when you get home." And I was like, yeah, I will. I didn't. And
he was just taking a long time. So like, I got everything prepared, and I was like, all right, I'll just do it myself. Cause Cleo was still a little sack of potatoes just laying there. So I just cooked dinner. Well, started to cook dinner, and then he still wasn't home. Like, what the fuck? Like, Matt
also has a way about him but yeah, anyway, we ended up hanging out at the bar for a little while. I had great talks with other old men there who had grown daughters, and it was just like full circle. It was really one of my lowlights as a father, without a doubt. But you got to know the whole picture of who's hosting this. I'm not perfect, and getting home.
He had Matt call me because he knew I was going to be mad.
Oh God, yeah. She's like, "Where's fucking Tyler?" And Matt's like, I'm like, "Dude, no."
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to put you on, man. So then she wasn't happy. We ended up having a great night anyway. Brought
Yeah,
her
it was
back
a
some
great night.
pizza and we had fun when we went back. But yeah, so then that night we had a talk that like, you know, family and life is finite, and we've obviously known this many times, but we really kind of missed family and being around family. And Kalia's 2 months old at this point, and we knew that our parents were gonna, you know, probably come to Hawaii once or twice a year max. So we made the decision to rent our place out and go to find a winter rental in New Jersey, back to where it
to
all
New
started.
Jersey.
And we did. We found a rental in Bradley Beach, and
But once we kind of like mentally made that decision, it was very, very quick.
everything fell in.
Just fell into place without us even trying. We got a renter. We somehow found a place on Marketplace in Bradley Beach, and then
Like in a
messaged him,
couple
and he was
days.
like, okay, yeah. And then
Yeah. And
it
we
was just
sold
crazy.
everything, well, most of the things, so easily. And we just kind of took it as a sign, like maybe this is the right move right now. And there were, you know, just certain feelings that we were having in Hawaii too. And we just kind of felt like maybe it's time at least to step away for now. And we got back to New Jersey, hated it. Hailey started to not feel well again. And
Well, I felt good for like the first few months we were there, couple months we were there.
yeah,
And then by November?
Yeah.
I started to feel like shit, and I was like, fuck this, get me out of here. And then from there, I was just on Tyler's ass every day. I was like, get me out of here.
yeah. And then I was between jobs at the time when I started the podcast. So now we're picking back up to real speed here.
Yeah.
And then I found a job down here in Florida, which is where we are now, and love my job now. It's amazing. We just bought a
Now we're sitting in our dining room in our brand new place and doing a podcast.
Yeah, and if for those of you watching the video, I was very embarrassed of it, but there was a couple like Molly screws up there that we
didn't
couldn't.
take
I
them
haven't
yet.
spackled them yet, but the spackle literally is holding the phone up right now for the recording of this video. It's very bare bones, but I will spackle that. Don't judge me for my holes. But yeah, so I just think 45 minutes later, kind of hearing that story, but I think the biggest takeaway that really was important for people to know about all of this stuff with us is because it's changed our perspective like night and day on parenting. I mean, we were 2 months old and we were 2 months old. She was 2 months old, our daughter, and we shipped our truck to California from Hawaii, road tripped for a month and a half, just
With a dog and a baby.
with a dog and a baby and a Ford Ranger.
And it was a blast.
And it was
so fun.
Then we just did shit that like was very unconventional, and we've kind of already been unconventional with the decisions that we've made in life as it is, and been kind of since before that, but since Hailey got sick, we just really looked at life and we're like, wow, this is a very finite, short thing, and we've kind of looked the ending of it in the face.
Carefree the more times that I've
Yeah.
been almost dead.
Without a doubt, yeah. And I think just like that mindset change for life in general has helped us live more just a fun and carefree life. And also when it comes to parenting too, I think it's really helped us be responsible, but also
Just see what's important.
Yeah, to see what's important and see that like time together is important. It's not like working. It's not like, the material possessions. It's moments and travel and
Experiences together.
yeah. And just like being present. And even, I mean, now I'm working again, a 9 to 5, and I like could still know that I need to be present in those moments with my wife and my daughter, and just kind of don't let the another cog in the wheel thing go again. And I mean, this time around is a lot better. I feel like my mindset too with it, especially after the happenings over the last few years, but
You actually like it.
and I love it. Yeah. But it's definitely kind of framed our perspective of life quite a bit, which is why I love this podcast and having the guests on to talk about the things that I'm passionate about, like surfing and getting in the water and being outside in nature and all this stuff, because I'm obviously doing that in my career, and also just life in general. You gotta really capitalize on all of it and give experiences to your children and yourselves, and realize that it's too fucking short to like take stupid shit seriously and
You
to
care so much about useless,
Yeah.
pointless bullshit.
yeah. And yeah, absolutely.
That was a lot. That really, in my mind, did not make any sense.
I mean, it was
But
a progression,
hopefully-
the highlights at least of the notable negative moments,
But do they
unfortunately.
connect is what I'm trying to figure out.
I think they
When you
do.
listen to this through, did any of that make any sense is really
I
what I'm
think
thinking.
for sure. Yeah. But yeah, hey, I mean, some people might not give a shit about our story.
No.
And for those of you that don't,
I've been writing a book since 2017, so hopefully that'll be out one day. But
hell yeah.
then you'll get all the details because there's a lot of what is the word today?
You're going to finish that book.
Yeah, hopefully.
You're going to finish that book. And
I mean, it's pretty close. I don't know. I keep adding and changing.
yeah, you just got to get it out and then you can write the next one. But
yeah.
I'm also writing a book.
This is going to be done before mine.
It should have been done.
Like this year.
Yeah, sorry for, I know I put that little ad lib.
There you go.
I don't know.
That's
That
not
was
it.
it. At the end of the last few episodes, but it's coming soon. But yeah, anyway, this is just kind of us and our story and how we got here.
This is us.
And
we interrupt each other every 5 seconds.
we do. I think me more than you. Like
Yeah.
when it's you, I just want to like
Finish my sentences
yeah,
and like
yeah, we
talk
do.
for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't get my words out all the way.
I'm so excited about health.
Everything.
Your health things and just everything in general. Yeah. But thank you. Seriously. Like, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I knew it was a lot to get on here and
Tyler had to pull a lot of strings.
I pulled a lot of strings and we said it. I mean, this is like 3 times coming, literally.
This is the third time's
Yeah.
charm.
And yeah, it means a lot. And I hope the listeners, you guys, I'm confident that there will be more episodes about a lot more and kind of specifics of parenting and things like that where you can get more into it in the future. I like to kind of keep my episodes relatively under an hour and short, but I think if we get further into that, it might be too much. But yeah, anything else you want to add? Thank you again for being here. Appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for forcing me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
No, I don't got anything else to say.
You sure?
Yeah.
How about like one? Oh, no. I mean,
I knew you were going to go there.
I
I was
didn't even-
making sure you didn't say it.
yeah. No, I ask all of my guests out. You're no different. You're a guest. You're my wife, but you're a guest too.
My advice or
Oh, let me
my
ask a
little
question.
parenting tip,
Let me
whatever
ask a
the hell it
question.
is.
You're interrupting me now, see? All right. So if you have one piece of advice that you could give to listeners, whether that is a practical parenting tip or a mindset tip, what would that be and why?
We already kind of went over it, but just stop caring what people think and do whatever the fuck you want. End of story. Doesn't need an explanation.
Just a high
I thought
five.
we're going to air high five, but
We're going
sorry
for it.
if you heard that. But yeah, that's about it. Just do what you want.
And there's a lot of wisdom packed into that thing. Like this chick obviously has been through, I share my experience, but my fucking experience is nothing compared to what you went through. And she's got wisdom beyond her years and just thankful for you. You're the best. Making this just this super sappy love podcast. But seriously, you're amazing. And I know anybody that hears your story and here's you just openly talking about it, like could really, really know how much that actually means. And not everybody's that vulnerable to talk about the hardest moments of their life. And for real, like it's fucking admirable as shit. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have my perspective on life. And you're quiet. You're kind of in the background of a lot of things, but you for sure are like the shit.
Thank you. I know. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have been able to get through anything without you. I know you know that.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay, guys.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to our rambling. We do this a lot. We try not to watch TV a lot. We just kind of talk, and most of our nights are this, which is why because I get so excited.
Sometimes we're talking to each other. Sometimes we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm interrupting myself. Mostly just Hailey though. But yeah, for real. Thank you, listeners. We appreciate it. Much love, and we will see you on another episode. Peace.
Bye. I didn't know if I was supposed to say bye.
Go ahead, say bye.
See you.